AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Kevin Ferguson. Kevin is the VP of Engineering at BentoBox. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, JP, thank you for having me on the show.
It's our pleasure. So, Kevin, let's start with yourself. Can you give a brief background of your journey in tech? Where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, taking us up to today as the VP of Engineering for BentoBox?
Absolutely. I've been programming since I was 12 years old. My dad was a coder. My grandfather was a coder. So this kind of runs in my blood. I went to Stevens Institute of Technology from 1998 and then graduated in 2003. And I started off as a software engineer at the Vanguard Group, largest mutual fund company in the world. And over the years, I spent a lot of times doing web development. I moved into a lead role. Eventually, I moved into a management role, and I've worked my way up through management over the last 10 or so years. In particular, the last three roles that I held, first company that I was working at was a Facebook partner company. It's called Unified. They're now a subsidiary of iHeartMedia. And I built out their audience intelligence division. And then the last company that I worked for before joining BentoBox was Vettery, online hiring platform. And I was running the engineering organization there. And that's where I met my counterpart, the VP of product. His name is Brian Levy. He left Vettery in the summer in July of 2019 to join BentoBox. And then I followed him here. I joined BentoBox in September of 2019.
Excellent. Thank you for the background. And it's always great to hear when an individual follows somebody else who they've worked with, because it really speaks to the prior working relationship. So I definitely want to touch on that. But let's start with BentoBox. Explain to the audience who BentoBox are as a business, what you guys do, and then give us some insight into your role.
Absolutely. BentoBox is on the mission to empower the world's restaurants to succeed in their mission of hospitality. We want to be the technology that elevates every interaction between restaurants and their guests. Currently, we're helping over 7,000 restaurants by providing custom web design, doing online ordering and delivery, branded shops, providing events management, catering, and much more for these restaurants. My role is actually in running the engineering organization, and I see my role as developing leaders. So I'm not in the code on a day-to-day basis anymore. I have engineering managers that are leading teams to help add new features to the product. So I'm helping to develop their leadership skills, their people skills. I'm helping them be successful. If they're successful, I'm successful. I'm helping them make sure that they have all the resources they need, removing any blockers that they might have, and then also giving as well as receiving feedback from them. So it's not just about coaching them, but I also get feedback from them on how we can make changes to the engineering organization to help us be more successful in delivering features for our restaurants.
Thank you for that. And you've given some good insight into your approach to supporting your team. I'll definitely want to come back to the growth that BentoBox has experienced over the past few years. But looking on at the engineering challenges specifically, as you're the VP, you've oversight of the various projects, the pipeline, and some of the challenges. Can you give us some insight into what it's like behind the scenes for the engineering team, some of the data sets that you're working with, and how it's evolved since your time joining?
Absolutely. We are an agile shop at our heart. We do daily scrums, we do 2-week sprints, and we have the traditional agile ceremonies, but we try to be as efficient as possible. My goal is to keep engineers out of meetings as much as possible. So engineers, they are grooming their ticket. And then that way, when they're coming to the planning meetings, the retro meetings, they already have things to talk about. One of my favorite sayings that I'm constantly saying to everybody on the team is The better we plan, the better we execute. And the engineering team is empowered and encouraged to really plan out their work such that they can then execute on all of the different projects and initiatives that the product team has in store for us. So about some of the technology that we're working with, we have the latest and greatest. We have React on the front end. We have Python with the Django framework on the back end. Everything is hosted in AWS. And this really enables us to support the restaurant owners in the best way possible. We also have data pipelines and dashboards that are powered by Stitch and Snowflake and Looker. And this really gives us insights into our key business metrics and KPIs such as revenue and customer growth.
Kevin, focusing now on data specifically, because obviously you cover all of engineering, front end, back end, and everything in between. But specifically for data engineering, which is proving to be one of the more challenging areas to bring in talent, can you give us some insight into how you've gone about building your data engineering group, what you look for, and what it's like to be part of the data engineering team, some of the projects that you're working on?
Yes. So when it comes to hiring data engineers, we're looking for engineers that have worked with big data before. By big data, we're talking like billions of records of data. Our company has seen an increase in online sales by over 250x. And we have so far processed well over $100 million in online ordering sales through our platform. So we're looking for engineers that have worked with big data. We are collecting data constantly from Stripe and from Square and from our own database. And we have to get that into Snowflake. And then on top of that, we're then transforming the data once it's in Snowflake. So that way we can look at it through the lens of Looker. So they need to be able to work with the data pipelines. They need to be able to do data sanitation. They need to be able to transform the data. And then on top of that, they also need to be able to create the dashboards. There's some really complex SQL queries that go into creating the dashboards we use that drive the business. So when we're hiring data engineers, we're looking for engineers that have fulfilled the entire process, not just the data ingestion piece, but also the ETL as well as the UI piece.
So Kevin, taking it back then to the overall business mission, you mentioned there that 250x is an insane number of growth despite all the challenges that we've seen throughout the pandemic. Can you give us a high level overview as to why it's been so successful? What is it about BentoBox that is attracting such a huge wave of growth, and what you've enjoyed most about particularly the last year despite all the challenges?
Definitely, the pandemic has hit the restaurant industry very hard. The nice thing about BentoBox is that we are taking technology that was previously disparate and expensive, and we are combining it all together into a single solution under one roof. Restaurant owners are in the business of hospitality. They're not technologists. And that's why BentoBox has been so successful. We are taking that technology piece out of the restaurant owner's hands. We are taking that stress off their plate. We're able to provide this all-in-one solution. We design their websites, we host their websites, and then we give them online ordering, delivery, gift cards, loyalty promotions, marketing, all of these things that help drive their business to be more successful. It's one less thing that they have to think about so that they can just focus on hospitality 100% of the time.
Love it. Yeah, you're freeing them up to do what they do best.
Exactly.
Which has obvious value. So with that level of growth in use cases, obviously there's a growth across the business. And you and I have already spoken previously, but can you give us some insight into what the next 12 months are going to look like for BentoBox, and focusing then on the hiring side? Who do you need to bring in? What do you look for?
Yeah. So the pandemic has really emphasized the fragility of in-person experiences. And we need to continue to diversify revenue streams for restaurants. Online ordering systems and delivery is going to continue to be crucial for the success of restaurants. Our cell phones have more power than the computers that ran the spaceships that went to the moon. Our phones are going to be extremely important to the success of restaurants in the future. Okay, they're going to help drive contactless ordering and payments. And ultimately, BentoBox is going to be the technology that works for restaurants. It's really going to help elevate that interaction between the restaurant and their guests. And in order to support all of this, the engineering team is going to have to grow significantly. All of BentoBox is going to have to grow significantly. Just focusing on the engineering team right now. When I started in 2019, the team was around 10 to 15 engineers. By the end of 2020, it had doubled to about 25, 30 or so. By the end of this year, we are going to double in size again. We're going to be over 50 engineers supporting the product in all of the initiatives. And so things that we're looking for leaders. We're looking for engineers that are going to take ownership over the product, engineers that are going to work hard to add value. We're looking for leaders that are going to help us plan out the work and help grow the engineers in their career. So it's not just technical leaders, but it's also people leaders. All of these things go into what's going to help the engineering team be successful.
Kevin, final question from me. Clearly, you speak with a lot of passion about what you do. Your introduction in terms of your role was all about empowering and supporting others, which is great to hear from somebody at your level of leadership. What do you love most about working for BentoBox?
Absolutely. It's the people. It really is the people. Everybody here is extremely collaborative. Everybody is really helpful. Everybody's looking out for one another. We really feel like we are a team. We're all in this together on the mission to empower the world's restaurants to succeed in their mission of hospitality. We realize that we are going to succeed together as a team by being the technology that elevates these interactions between restaurants and guests. Everybody here, as I said, works together. Everybody likes coming in to do their job, which, as we all know, that's the most important thing. You can go and be an engineer at any company, and if you don't like the people that you're working with, you're not going to be excited. You're not going to wake up in the morning and be like, I want to go to work. And not only is everybody here really passionate about helping the restaurant industry, but everybody is also really passionate about helping one another, which really just excites everybody to come to work.
Kevin, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about BentoBox, about yourself, your leadership style, the disruption and the empowerment that you're giving to your customers. Obviously, your role covers broadly engineering, but it was great to learn about the data engineering function and, more importantly, the opportunities and growth in store. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, JP.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. For more information, contact mark@alldus.com. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.